Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Product Hour Live. I'm Tejus Venkatesh. I'm your host. Thank you so much for joining yet another session of Product Hour Live. This time we are going to discuss such a fun and interesting topic, which is something that everybody is talking about in the last few weeks, last few months. We were all in Chicago attending Intelligent Automation Week, and there were at least 3 days and 25 sessions, and every single session was talking about LLMs and generative AI and machine learning and how you make automation more intelligent. All of them were really, really good sessions. The only pattern that we recognized was that everybody was saying we could do this and we could do that, and we will release some features in Q3 or Q4. Sign up for a early preview. That was the pattern. But we came here with a product that is built on generative AI, which we call it as Remark. Remark is a super chat assistant. It's like your senior colleague, senior developer, very experienced, very thorough with their code and knowledge, who is going to help you build automations on Robocorp super quick and super efficient. That's the topic of the day. That's the demo that we are going to do. We're going to do some extremely cool live demos, and we will like you also to participate, ask questions, and try out Remark through this next hour. But before I get started, I also like to introduce a new segment to this edition of the Product Hour Live, which we will continue to have going forward. As Robocorp, a very agile company, we are releasing many features back to back within short intervals of times. We are not monolithic, one release per year or two release per year kind of a company. We are a very fast-paced company, and you have seen this all. So wanted to take a moment and see what are the features, some of the key features, not all the features, because we will end up using the entire hour. What we will do is we will look at some of the key highlights of the releases that happened last month alone, not last year, not last half year, but last month. So let me get to my screen. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Can somebody comment? Good to go. Awesome. So let's take a quick look at some of the key releases that happened in the month. One of the things that we have been doing is connecting and using the greatness of OpenAI services, the chat completion and the prompts, and image generations as well. One of the challenges with these large language models specifically, or in generally, is that these are open and public APIs, and there might be some concerns about security and governance and compliance. Thanks to OpenAI and the Microsoft partnership, now OpenAI service is available on Microsoft Azure, and they have released those APIs. And we were able to release the connectors, the library, and update the library with those keywords which will help you use Azure OpenAI services, just like you were using the OpenAI services earlier. So it's the same library, rpa.openai, where we had added a couple of other keywords, or if you are using Python, you will have two new functionalities. First, you need to authenticate yourself, and then once that is done, the rest of response handling mechanism is exactly same as how it was earlier, so that there is very minimal impact if you are moving from OpenAI's APIs to Azure OpenAI. So that's the first feature that has come up. The next one, which is the pre-built environments, we have had scenarios where customers, especially large enterprise customers, they did not wanted to push the environment building onto all machines that are going to execute Robocorps. So instead of that, now you can build your environments locally on one machine, then import it on another machine or set of machines, verify, scan for any viruses, any malware, any standards that you would want to apply for any typical software that enters your ecosystem, enters your network. You can do all those at the importer stage, and the distributor will then finally push all these environments into the target machines, whether on-prem or cloud. So that's the pre-built environment for you. Highly useful for large enterprises where there is limitations on governance and security, who wants to be extra safe. That's already available. I will send the links to these documentations and articles and how to do this post this call. The last one, before we jump obviously into Remark, is the conditional step start. On control room, you can set multiple steps for a process. I'm sure you all know this. Currently, what happens is that when a work item is available from step 1 to step 2, it already starts to execute. You might have multiple steps, and step 1 has completed 1 out of 15 work items, and then one of the work item is available, and then it starts step 2, which is good in a lot of scenarios. But there are some scenarios where you would want to start the step 2 only after completion of all the work items in step 1. Maybe something like reporting that can happen only at the end of all the work items. So that kind of feature is also possible. It's already available on your control room. When you set up the configure your process, each step you can take this decision. That's some of the conditional start step. Finally, we are moving to the biggest release of the month, which has been Remark. As I told you, Remark is our own generative AI based chat assistant. What we have done is simply we have taught Remark all our documentations, all our portal examples, all our code base, and we have trained that with this knowledge that is already available. Now it's super specific to Robocorp. It understands our libraries, it understands our documentations, it understands some of the errors that can happen when you are developing Robocorp. So it can act as an assistant, but a colleague, a peer developer, or a senior developer who you can rely on whenever you have a question. That question could be about how do you set up something, or very specific about how do I loop through 10 rows of data in an Excel, how do I click a button on a website, how do I wait for an element, or it could be combination of all these things. Or when you have an error, like an undefined error, you can copy that error and then paste it to Remark and get the help. So that's Remark. And to talk about more about Remark and also show you some really interesting demo, I have my colleague Eric, who is joining me from Helsinki, Finland. I would like to invite him here. Hi, Eki.
Hello. Hi, Tejus.
How are you?
Fine, thanks. Fine. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Have you already taken summer vacation? Are you in between summer vacation and then you came only to attend this product hour?
No, 2 days of work and then to the vacation. So
awesome.
final pushes.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today, Eki. Can you just briefly introduce about yourself? I think most of people on LinkedIn know you already with the amazing examples that you share and some of the competitors' challenges that you solve faster. But just for the sake of the rest of us, could you please tell us what you do, what have you been doing?
Yeah, so my name is Eki and I'm a technical account manager here at Robocorp. And briefly, my job description is, as I work in a customer success, I'm a general guy who makes sure that the customers and partners are succeeding with the Robocorp. So that's my current job. And I've been really active on social media and really like exploring and sharing my automations, and LLMs and AI is something that I've been really enjoying the past months. So happy to hear. Thanks for the invite.
Cool. Okay, straight off the bat, how do you like Remark?
Remark is awesome. Yeah. Of course, it's a new product. It's not perfect, but neither are you or me. But it is awesome. The training with our documentation, it can give so precise, good answers. So really looking forward on where we can go with that. But really liking the tool.
Cool, awesome. I think on the perfection side, it is evolving. I mean, generative AI as a space is evolving. Understanding the context, understanding the meaning, understanding the intent, and also comprehending the knowledge and transforming into an answer is quite new, and it's evolving, and so is Remark. So that's cool. Why don't we just get started with the demo that you wanted to show today?
Sure, please just go ahead. I have my screen ready here.
Awesome.
So what have we planned for the demo today? I think most of our attendees are familiar with the Robocorp course number 1. This is the first of our certification courses, and we are not about to complete this whole course, but I have thought that we could see how the Remark could help us to get started with this. And I have 3 points that we should do with this. So what this course is about, it starts that you are having an Excel file that you need to read. Then we have this web application where we need to log in. And after the login, we will submit the sales data for the web application. And the course continues. It has some more steps, but I think by the help of Remark, we could accomplish these 3 steps on a rather short time. But let's see, live coding is always live coding, and especially while we are trusting the LLMs completely. So
and Zoom and internet and our servers and the API keys on Open API. So yeah, but I'm sure this is going to work, and all the best to you. Take it over, please.
Yeah. So what I have done before this call, I have created a new robot, and this is from the VS Code extensions, the RPA browser playwright template. On the course materials, this is done by the Selenium library, but for some changes, let's try how the Remark can handle this another browser library. So now here I have just a simple empty bot, and I have downloaded the Excel file pre-hand. It has headers and like 50 rows of the sales data results. And this is something that we should, at the end of the demo, submit to this web application that we are seeing here. And how we are about to approach this, let's get the Remark to help us. And as we saw the steps, so we should start by reading the Excel workbook into a table. And we have this sales data XLX. And I'll be using the notepad here for creating the prompts. So I'll be pasting those to the Remark. But the first step, I want to tell the Remark that I wanna use the robot framework and not Python on this robot. And I want to create a keyword that reads the sales data XLS file into a table. So we can use the table variable later on the robot. And one thing that we need to tell is that the worksheet has headers, because that is something that the remark doesn't know if there are headers or not. So this would be our first prompt on how to get started with this. And here we can see the remark. I will refresh the page as it's been open for a while. And now I copy pasted the first prompt, and let's see how the remark is thinking hardly. We can see the points moving there, and let's wait for the response. Yeah, so there is a keyword library, RPA Excel files. That is something that remark thinks that could do the thing for us. And it gives us a code snippet example. Here is the user keyword and the library import. And let's see. Yeah, here we go. So I will copy paste all of this to our robot file. And I would replace those. And I will remove the defaults from the robot template that we saw in the beginning. And now we have the keyword called read sales data. I will add that into our task. And as it is actually returning the sales data variable, I want to capture that into a new variable. So, and after this, I could add also a log command so we can see whether the command is working or not. And I'll add an argument of console equals true so we can see the result here. But quickly looking, this looks good. And I'll press Ctrl, Shift, and P, and I will run the robot, and let's see how the first step goes. And here we can see the log of the table, and it has the following headers, and it has 50 rows. So perfect. This first step seems to be correct. And for the next step, now we have the Excel file stored into a table. We'll need to log in to this portal. And as you can see here, we have a username and the password that we need to use for the login. And normally, I would start to use some inspector or manually inspect the element and find the appropriate locators for these three elements. But now that we have remark, we could try something different. If I go up here, and here you can see how all of those elements are highlighted. So what I could do, I will copy entire HTML element. That will contain the two input elements. It would contain the text where the credentials are and the details for the login button. So I have that on my clipboard. And now to the second command. I'll paste the HTML element already here. So what we'll need to do, I want to again tell the remark that we want to use RPA browser.playwright, so we don't get the instruction using the Selenium. And again, a create keyword that navigates to URL, and then we'll need to get the URL for this site. Here. Okay. And now we can be creative, and we can tell remark that we want the robot to navigate to URL and log in to the application. We don't tell that type the username into some element or so on. And now that we have the HTML element, we can tell that here is the HTML element and the credentials for the login. So now we'll have to see whether Remark can create XPath or CSS selectors out of this HTML data, and if it can spot the username and the password from these values here. So let's see how this goes. This is quite a amount of data, but let's continue the conversation. And this is expected as we saw the HTML with these special characters that will cause the Remark to render these in a strange way, so we can't see the same actual code here. But that's just a visual thing, and we have those stored in the txt file. And Remark is again doing its job, so let's wait a while. Let's see if there was too large chunk of the HTML or not. This is okay, and here we go. It just took some time. Let's see what the result looks like. This looks good. We are using the Playwright, and we have a new keyword, login to application. It will open browser for that address, and it will type the username and the password for elements that looks really good. So let's copy this and continue on the VS Code. So underneath the keywords section, I will add this. Oops, this went too far. Let's remove the settings. And now we can see that these are looking bad as we don't have the Playwright library imported. But what I can do, I can remove a couple of characters, and autocomplete suggests me that the RPA Playwright would be the one. And now that it is added, we have good looking keywords there. And then we can add the second keyword to be run on this same task. And we could add here like a sleep for a 4 second that the browser doesn't close. Let's see, this looks good, and let's run it and see how it goes. Okay, we have a failure. Oh, and now we can see that direct assignment of variables as secret is not allowed. Yeah, and we are using the type secret with the plain text password, which is not a good thing. But for this demo purpose, we can, as we are already using the plain text password, so let's use the type text instead of the type secret, and let's try it again. And now we can see the login. And yes, we got inside, and it did sleep for 4 seconds, and the browser was closed. Yeah, we have now completed 2 steps for this course that we are about to see. And I will log in on my browser here. So shall not pass. Yeah, so the robot ended up here. And the next thing would be that we need to iterate through the table where we have all the sales data. We have to submit the first name, last name, and select the sales target and add the sales result. And we have to remember that one of these is a drop-down menu. So let's continue with this. And our third one would be something like this. And Remark should know already that we are using Playwright as we are continuing the conversation. So I don't mention Playwright again here, but we want to create a keyword that iterates through the, let's get the table name from here. It will be the sales data table, and submit each row to the web application. And let's see what we need to do. We need to remember that the sale target is a drop-down menu, and you need to select the options by value on that. And then we'll probably need to, we'll need to tell Remark what kind of headers we have on the data, because those needs to be used on the keywords. So table has the following headers, and here's the data for the cell. And let's do the same thing. That we'll start to inspect here, and I'm not gonna copy these each by each, but let's get the whole data again. So let's copy the outer HTML and put it there. And now we are having a good descriptive prompt. So let's see what Remark thinks about this. And we will yet again see the rendering, how the HTML elements will be rendered there. And with the all LLMs, whether it's ChatGPT or Remark, you can see it's really important how descriptive and specific prompts you are giving for those. So if you give just some short, unclear prompt, then the results probably won't be as good. So good to remember to have like a really specific prompts. You get the best results by that. And let's see, this looks good. We have a new keyword called submit sales data. And let's wait for the Remark to finish. Submit sales data, and we are passing the sales data, and we are iterating through the data, and this looks all good. So let's yet again copy this and return for our keywords. Now I'll take the sleep away from the previous one. Oh, now we have a keyword that doesn't seem to exist. And this is because Playwright doesn't have such a keyword. So let's get back to Remark. Keyword doesn't exist on Playwright. And this was actually a good example how Remark is not perfect, and you might get these errors. But let's see. Okay, you're correct. There is a keyword called select options by value. And now we are getting the same looking Go code. Type text, fill text. Oh, now we are seeing remark hallucinating, but I know this is actually the correct one. We are missing this from the code. So let's see if I'll just select options by value. Oh, it's select options by, and we can see the extensions are giving us the selector attribute. Yeah, the attribute will be value. So I'm not spending time on getting the correct answer from remark, as this might take too much time. But now this looks good, and I'll add this to our tasks list, and we can see that it expects to have the sales data argument here. So yet another. Now we should see some sales data to be filled, submitted. And now we are doing the login. Okay. Now we are seeing an error. But we have the first name, last name, and the sales result, but the target is probably the issue here. But this is yet again good demonstration. So here we can see the failure. Okay, the element expected a string, but it got a number. So this value is a number, and the application expects that to be a string. So let's see if I copy the name of the value, and let's ask remark, how do I convert the following number variable into a string variable? Oh, and I forgot to paste the variable name, but let's see. And now we are getting Python, but let's copy the same question and tell using robot framework, and we could give the variable name so we can get probably a better result. Okay, now we are getting the result in robot framework. Okay, we are getting all of the code. Yeah, it didn't respond just for my question, as it remembered the conversation history that we had. But that's okay. Let's copy the whole keyword and let's give yet another shot. So replace that. And now we have the sales target that would be the string version of this number. And then we have this. Yeah, let's see where we are. Now we are doing the login, and we are yet having an issue. Oh, now it actually, the select options by was forgotten. So we have yet another issue, but let's do it this way. So it forgot the select option where it had the mistake. So this is what we want to do. We replace the string manually here. And now let's see if we are in the goal of this demo or not. Yeah, now it's working. And now it will fill in the 50 rows from the Excel worksheet and we have completed our 3 steps. And we had some demo effects, but that is really good, as you don't get always the complete answers, but as you can see, we can get a really nice help from Remark. Thanks.
Indeed, Eki. I mean, this is a wonderful demo. Not only it shows the happy path, but it also shows what happens when it goes wrong. I think that's the real use of a senior developer, and not just a chat assistant. I mean, it's awesome if you can get answers about how do I look through the Excel, but only when it is stuck, when there is an error, when there is an unknown error, is when it is useful, and it is truly using the potential of the knowledge. Otherwise, the documentations are always there, the examples are always there. The real utility of such generative AI capabilities, such natural language and intent and understanding and comprehending your problem, is where the real differentiator lies in. So thank you so much for this demo, and for patience, and thanks to the demo gods for helping us with the right scenarios in the right time. So it was cool. So I will pick a few questions here, Eki, and then maybe we will go with a bit more demo if time permits. For now, the question on does this help with Python coding, Kevin? It's a very good question. So it does understand your context, Kevin. It can give you Python code, but it always is under the context of automation and Robocorp. So it knows a lot about Python, generic Python stuff, generic Python library available, but it tries to add the extra layer of automation context. But I think there is a similar question from Nawaz, if it can generate code for Python and RPA framework. So you have the choice. So what you can ask Remark to give the code in a specific language for now, but in the future we will make it switchable, like a toggle at the beginning of your conversation, or to your session, or to your user session, where we will identify what is your preference of language of choice, because you can, in Robocorp, you can do it with Python or with the robot framework. Currently, yes, you can ask explicitly, and the Remark will be able to give you the answer in whatever language of your preference per question or to that session. On the question regarding Kappa AI has been a very good partner with us, and Ask Kappa is a channel on Slack, which does a similar thing of Remark, but it's more trained on the documentation versus the examples that we have. We will do a bit more experiments with both the platform, and then with your feedback, with your inputs, we will follow either one of them going forward. And do we have any syntax to follow to give instruction to Remark? I will answer this, but I will also ask Eki to answer, because he's been probably the best prompt engineer that I've seen. So the syntax to follow with Remark, like any other generative AI assistant, is the prompt. Like, how good can you form the prompt? And it generally increases your chance of getting better answers. But in reality, you can use any plain language. It understands your natural language, it understands your intent, it understands your typos as well. But there is going to be a way in which we can predict better outcomes with generative AI. At this moment, it's very, very new. There is no set format or syntax that you need to follow. But I will ask the same question to you, Eki. Do you see any tricks and tips in which you can expect the responses better?
Pretty much the only tip and trick is to be as specific and describe a lot. The better and more describing prompt you give, the better the results will be. And while using like a remark, you don't need to address the same things that you would with ChatGPT, that okay, you are a code assistant. Those kind of things you don't need to tell remark, as it knows the role where he is or it is. But just more detailed, and then you can have the conversation. If the first prompt isn't good enough, then you can complete and give more details and give me this, don't give me that, and so. But more details, the better.
Correct. And on that point of iteration, and I think that was what was beautifully showcased during the demo as well. Coding is actually an iterative game. It's not one shot. I mean, whether there is ChatGPT, whether there is Remark or not, when you are building a software, you iteratively build it. So even the questions with the Remark, how you should use Remark is in an iterative way, where you ask a question, then based on that, because it already now understands that context, your next answer is going to be in that context. So use that iterative mode to get the best out of Remark. That is what I would suggest at this point in time.
Yeah, and I want to kind of point out the importance of the documentation, and when you have the skills and you are familiar, you can also, by that mean, you can give the better prompts, as you know that I probably should mention these things. And so never forget about the old school learning also. That helps you.
Correct. I mean, Eki is very politely saying, don't skip certificate 1, 2, and 3.
Exactly.
Thanks for promoting the certifications as well. Yeah. Cool. Why does Remark render HTML code and not just show the code? I think this is something that we will improve over a period of time. But as of now, if you just copy the code with the click of the button and then directly paste it onto a code editor, we have used VS Code primarily, and it works just fine. But I know what you are saying about the formatting. We will improve that in the future. If you have any specific feedback on how it should do, please just drop that feedback to us on any of these channels. We'll be happy to pick up those feedback and improve Remark. As we are telling, Remark is a very new product. We want to improve this, improve the user experience. I think from knowledge perspective, it's already well defined. It is trained on most of our documentation, most of our portal examples. That's one of the reasons it is able to give you good codes for specific scenarios. But I think we are also working on improving the user experience of the chat in itself. Also, what we are trying to do is we are trying to, in the future, embed these capabilities directly into our other product suites as well. Maybe VS Code extension, when you are writing, can it be in the same interface instead of the browser? So there are a lot of good items on our roadmap. We highly appreciate if you have any feedback, any inputs, any way in which you want to improve Remark. We'll be happy to hear and happy to include some of them in the roadmap soon. Can it remember a thread so that we can discuss different topics? ChatGPT has this feature. Yes, in the future. No, currently. I think, Guy, that's a very good feature, because one, it'll help us go back to the context. You might have built a robot a couple of weeks ago, and then you have had some conversations and you have used that code. Now, can you go back to that code and then add few more validations, few more exceptions or something like that? I think it's a great feature. definitely is on the roadmap, not implemented yet. But I can take a screenshot of your question and then push internally for that feature to come.
Yeah, and currently the Remark has no logins required, so it's hard to remember the conversations also, but a very good point there. So we'll give the takeaways on that.
Yeah. Cool. I think that was most of the questions. I also have okay, this one. Can we have some use cases where generative AI have helped real business use cases for any organization who would like to get started? I think this is at the beginning. As I told you last week in the IA event, everybody was saying we could do this and we could do that, and there were no real business use case who could say. I mean, there were maybe business use cases, there were needs, but there was no product or technology which was solving it. I think we are working with one of the biggest customers in the US who is putting this to the use. Not just Remark. Our approach has been using generative AI to help development, but also in real business use case during the execution with the power of knowledge, with the power of conversations. You can improve the back office operations a lot better. In places like finance, in places like healthcare, there are quite a few things. We are working with one such customers. We are deploying that POC and then waiting for those use cases to be publicly available. But that's going to be much sooner than we can expect from the rest of the market. Awesome. So many good questions. Anybody wants anything to be tried on Remark live? So I will put back a key onto the limelight, and whatever question that I see on the chat, I will try to show that on live. Anybody who wants to tease. While that comes, I have one for you, Eki, and I've been waiting to ask this for a long time. Can you go on live? Do you trust me?
Yeah, please shoot at me.
So what's the weather like in Bangalore? I want you to ask that question to Remark.
Okay, I need to get the Remark. And let's refresh that. So what's the weather like in, was it Bangalore?
Yes.
Bangalore.
Okay, what do you think will come?
Something warm, sunny.
Yeah, I want the attendees to think what could be or what should be the information. So this is Remark. This is not ChatGPT. It's very specific for specifically built for helping you with Robocorp, helping you build automation and not assist you with questions like what you can find on ChatGPT or Siri on weather apps.
Let's try it this way. So how could I create a robot that returns the
current
weather in Bangalore? Let's see how we go.
That's quite a complex question, but let's see.
I would expect some API call to some
Correct.
weather service.
There are quite a few weather APIs and websites that can give you current. Yeah. So it
Yeah,
uses
here we go.
HTTP
So
library.
RPA HTTP.
That's so awesome.
So there you go. There's the weather.
Yeah. That's actually perfect. I mean, if you just scroll down and to see the difference between the prompt, there's not a huge difference, except that I'm asking specifically to create the robot and not generically what's the weather. So perfect. This is super cool. You just need to have your own API key, of course. It's an API. And I think the other point I wanted to mention during the demo and re-emphasize, if you scroll down, Eki, please, is its ability to think and suggest the next set of questions, which can help you, build. I mean, it's an iterative thing, as we told. So you will not stop at one. So there is this intelligence of what could be the next question that is useful for the user. That's also covered.
There we go.
Awesome. I don't know how the next 6 months from now would look with the kind of power that a developer has in this time, which was probably not something that we could think of 6 months earlier. Now you have the knowledge was available for free most of the time during the last decade, but now you have the ability to filter through and then get the right questions, right answers, step by step in a very comprehensive and comprehensive style. So really cool, really cool. Thanks for trusting me, and thanks for asking these questions to
No
remark.
problem. And one thing I still want to point out about the prompts that I used, I really like how you can create the HTML selectors, locators,
Yeah.
just by copy the entire element and please give me a locator. You can ask for different strategies if needed, kind of like give a bigger chunk and so on. That is something where the LLM performs nicely.
Indeed. I think yeah, that's a point to be noted, and then that's a point that is quite useful, because not just the code which is important when you're dealing with real applications. It's the locators that is important, right? Because you need to identify the elements uniquely, and the onus is generally on the developer. Now it's just the plain code, but you also need the targets. If you can just give that outer HTML, inner HTML to remark and ask for a locator, you get one.
Yeah, and the simple ones, of course, you can use inspectors and type those manually, but when you have the more difficult ones, it's a pretty impressive results that I have seen on some difficult locators.
Correct. Awesome. Just a few more questions, just a few more minutes. Any feedback so far? Like, I would like to hear if somebody have tried Remark already. It's chat.robocorp.com. If you haven't tried already, it's chat.robocorp.com. As simple as that. You do not need to sign up. You do not need to log in. You do not need to pay. You just need to accept the terms, which is fair terms of services, and that's it. You can start exploring what is Remark trained on. You can play around, ask some questions, share your feedbacks, share your comments, whether good or bad. Suggest your improvements. There could be some edge cases where like chat gpt, it hallucinates. I think there is a question about why does it generate some code that doesn't exist. I mean, it sometimes it hallucinates, it thinks because of the structures in the documents, because of the titles of the documents. There could be one like this. I think there was a similar thing that happened during the demo with playwright library not having a specific keyword, and it still thought it generate, and it generated that piece of code because that exists in Selenium, and playwright was similar. Maybe there are some rough edges like that. We are trying to improve as and when you ask those questions. We can improve them when we find some of those rough edges as well. We are with our internal teams and with the help of good partners, large partners across the globe, who are trying this out and helping us make this better. So I request the same from this community to try it out and give us feedback. Okay. I have, oh, sorry, not this. That was us. This. And any training for this. I think, Eki, to go back to the point of how you create the prompt in itself is the training. I don't think you would need any other training per se to use a remark. But yeah, it's about how do you specifically, descriptively ask questions to remark, and thereby get the answers from remark as a response. It's trial and error until you learn how do you ask the right question, but descriptive. Get the questions to a specific topic instead of asking for weather. If you just asked for how do I get the weather from this particular website, that's a better question, and that increases chances of better options. Would speech, okay, I will sorry, I think Tommy and I are trying to add this at the same time. So would speech to text will be added soon? My answer to that is a question. Do you want it to be added? That's the question. Like, if we think it is going to add benefit to large part of our customers and partners and community, we would definitely add that. There are some good services which we can try it out together. Maybe it's a good portal example that we can build in the next days and show speech to text, at least at a conceptual level. Cool. Any closing remarks, Eki? We are just on time.
No, thanks for the invite, and remember to go through the courses and learn also by the old way, and then combine your skills with remark. Thank you, Tejus.
That's very sweet of you, Eki. Thanks for joining today, and also promoting courses in this session. Thanks to everybody that joined, everybody that is going to watch this recording. I hope you try remark. I hope you come back to us with your feedback, inputs, and suggestions. I will see you next month with another great topic. Until then, take care, stay safe. See you next time.